Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos, and today I'm just be officially updating you on some more latest news. So if you do consider drop your likes, and if you do consider subscribe to the channel as always. So I think it's actually worse under the Ole Gunnar Solsjaker era now than what it was under the Jose Mourinho era, because obviously I think now Solskjaer's record after what 28 or 29 games is actually worse than Jose Mourinho's. Now, obviously, we are enjoying our worst start to a Premier League season for 3 decades. So far this season, we've only managed 2 wins in the Premier League, out of 7. So we've only registered 9 points. We've only registered 9 points so far this season, and we are sitting 10th in the league. And we know that this is nowhere near good enough, to our standards and that. And I think, if this bad run of form, does continue to persist, I think, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, will definitely, be gone by Christmas, because I think now the vast majority of Manchester United fans are demanding Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the football club. I think also a lot of industries in that believe, like I've mentioned in my recent videos, believe that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be gone by Christmas. And like I said, he isn't exceeding expectations at Manchester United. In my overarching view on all this is that I think Manchester United still need to give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer more time at the football club. But obviously now at this day and age, obviously boards and that, don't give managers the time, that obviously, they are demanding and that. But obviously, like Roy Keane did say on Monday Night Football after our 1-1 draw with Arsenal, which was obviously not our last league game, he actually said, Manchester United, he said Man United need to give, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer more time, we need to give him at least a couple more windows, to see who else, he can recommend to the football club. And I think, he obviously, wants to build a team, does Solskjaer, that can obviously be competitive, and of course, that can win trophies. So you can still quite frankly say Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is still in the process of rebuilding this Manchester United squad. But like I did say, due to our inconsistency, I think the blame, basically, stems from everybody. So I think it's a mixture in that aspect. But I think, the vast majority of the blame does stem from the board, because I think the board are a liability, to be quite honest with you. And I don't only think it's been this summer that the board haven't been ruthless enough. I don't think the board have been ruthless enough in the last 3 to 4 windows, because in the last 3 to 4 windows at least, we haven't been competitive enough. We haven't been getting the players, of course, that we would like to recommend into the football club. So analysing our recruitment policy, it isn't too good, to be quite honest with you. I think the board also do need to assure structural changes at the football club. Whether they can assure these structural changes or not, I do not know. I think, the board as well, the question is, are they going to give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the tools and that he does need? But I think regardless of what happens this season, I think it did say that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job should be safe at least until May, because I think the board did realise that they didn't back him enough, during the summer and that. So I think the board have assured that, Solskjaer will be back in the next couple of windows. This is obviously, what it had basically said. And I think, some of the blames obviously, does stem from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because obviously, his tactics in that are questionable, and I do admit, we are tactically inept. I think also some of the blame does stem from Ed Woodward. You've also got a lot of Manchester United fans also demanding Ed Woodward out of the football club. Obviously, Ed Woodward is the vice chairman. Obviously, he oversees our transfer business and that. And also, I think a lot of players have got to take responsibility, because, a lot of our players have been underperforming, so far this season and that. But yeah, I think everything, needs to improve at Manchester United. Like I said, the performances need to improve, the results need to improve, our away form needs to improve, because don't forget, we haven't won away from home, since the PSG game last season, of course, when, we produced that miraculous comeback. Obviously, that was in the last 16 of the Champions League, and that was obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's most iconic moment as manager. Our home form, also needs to improve. I think we tactically, need to improve. We need to score more goals. We need to be more clinical in front of goals. So everything basically needs to improve at Manchester United. But like I did say, so far this season is replicating what I saw last season. What I mean in that aspect is that I haven't really seen much improvements this season. What I saw last season, because last season, was a huge disappointment. We finished 6th. obviously, failed to qualify for the Champions League. And I did say that was one of the main factor reasons that went against us during this summer, because obviously, a lot of players had element of concerns about joining the football club in the summer, because obviously when you're not in Champions League football, obviously, it's going to be harder to attract players to the elite level and that. But for me, Solskjaer, like I said, he's still in the process of rebuilding, and he needs more time, to make further more investment in that. But yeah, I think this is, now as I said at the start of the video, I think, we are enjoying it's worse under the Jose Mourinho, under the Solskjaer era than it was under the Jose Mourinho era. Now, obviously, Jose Mourinho, served 2.5 years at Manchester United, obviously as manager and that. And like I did say, despite the fact that he won the Europa League and the League Cup in his first season with Manchester United, Jose Mourinho, I already give you the main factor reasons why it didn't work out under the Jose Mourinho era. I also told you why it didn't work out in all the other managerial eras, since, Ferguson's retirement and that, because obviously 3 managers have already been sacked since the Alex Ferguson era. Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is our 4th permanent manager since the Alex Ferguson era. And I did initially say, we haven't got the structure to keep sacking managers, but Mourinho, it didn't work out under him because obviously, he had bad disputes with the board. He had bad disputes with the top players. Obviously, the board weren't backing the signings that he wanted to recommend into the football club last summer. The philosophy wasn't right under Mourinho. Obviously, there was no sort of transfer strategy under Jose Mourinho. But Jose Mourinho spent a substantial amount of the football club. He spent just under £400 million. He recommended 11 players in, and obviously, the majority of this team now are actually Jose Mourinho's players, so Solskjaer's inheriting the vast majority of Jose Mourinho's players. But I think, you could arguably say if we'd have recommended Jose Mourinho win after Alex Ferguson's retirement, then maybe, it would have been a different scenario with Manchester United. Maybe it would have been a different scenario on that. I think, one mistake Alex Ferguson made was obviously, recommended David Moyes in at the time. Obviously, David Moyes, I think he had a 10-month tenure with Manchester United. He's actually, he's the manager to have the shortest tenure with the football club, since the Alex Ferguson era. But obviously, we knew that David Moyes was never the right man for Man United. He never had that proven pedigree. He never dealt with top players and that. So we knew it was obviously, never going to work out under him. So that was just one mistake that Alex Ferguson, made in that. But like I did say, it's just not good enough, to our standards. Is this, the performances, need to improve and all that. And I did initially say, didn't I said at the start of this season, and I think I also said at the end of last season, that our expectations this season, will be to finish in that top 4. And obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has got to exceed these expectations. That if his tenure, is to obviously, last at Manchester United and that, because we need to get into the top 4. Because obviously, we do want to get back into the Champions League. But like I said, reflecting on the history of this football club, because we are the most successful team in England historically. Also, looking at the amount of money that's been invested into the football club, we should be much more of a commanding position, than we're in now. Like I did say to you though, I do credit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in certain aspects, that he did get rid of a lot of the deadwood during the summer, so we did get that summer clear out that we did initially demand. We also recommended 3 good players to the squad during the summer. We spent obviously just over £140 million on Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire, and we have seen glimpses of what good signings they've proven to be so far. So it's good in the aspect, that we've obviously addressed some of the problematic areas. We didn't obviously address all the problematic areas, but obviously, it'd only been Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first summer as Man United, and it was obviously always going to be hard for us, to address all the problematic areas. So I'm happy we got that experienced centre half in. I'm happy we got that right back in and that. But, the board during the summer didn't recommend any sufficient midfielders in or any sufficient attackers. Don't forget, for the majority of the summer as well, we was in search for a right winger, but you can obviously, still see the deficiencies in the squad. Also, I credit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well, because, don't forget, he has got a lot of trust with his young upcoming players. Obviously, the majority of the young upcoming players so far this season, of course, have been given their opportunities, which is obviously, very, very good. Which is obviously very, very good. But like I said, I still believe, you know, these more problematic players at the football club that do need to be moved on in January and of course next summer and that. But like I said, I think Solskjaer has identified the 4 positions, you know, well, a couple of positions, you know, where he thinks Manchester United, you know, do need to strengthen up in January. It's good that Solskjaer's making plans for the January window. Also, Ed Woodward is making plans for the January window and that. But I think, you know, Solskjaer, in my opinion, you know, will be gone by Christmas. But I do obviously know hate to say that. But, you know, Solskjaer needs longer. You know, overall at the moment, Solskjaer's been at Manchester United now around 10 months. So obviously he's been at the football club just under a year. Obviously came in, you know, in December of last year following the dismissal of Jose Mourinho and that, you know, we paid a couple of £1 million to get Solskjaer in as interim manager. You know, obviously we paid this money to mould and that. And he came in as interim manager at the first, and, you know, Solskjaer did really, really well in that 3-month period. You know, the results were good, the performances were good. He got the best out of these group of players and he exceeded expectations. But since he got the job in March earlier on this year, everything, of course, has just seemed to have all gone wrong, basically. Now, I think you'll get the vast majority of Man United fans, you know, including me and that, and I think a lot of them said it towards the back end of last season that we give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the job too early. You know, maybe we should have waited until the end of last season. Maybe we should have waited at some point until this season, you know, to make a decision, you know, whether to give him the job or not. But yeah, so he's been at the football club, you know, just under a year. Obviously, I've my element of concerns about him as well. You know, he hasn't really got that experience as a manager. You know, he hasn't got that managerial experience. You know, not really to the highest level and that. Obviously, you know, I don't think he's not good enough to become a success as manager. You know, he won a couple of Norwegian titles with Mould before he came to Man United. Obviously, you know, he had a really, really short tenure with Cardiff, but obviously, you know, he ended up, you know, getting Cardiff relegated and that. But like I said, Solskjaer was a great player for Manchester United. You know, he had 11 good years at the football club. He flourished under Alex Ferguson's guidance. You know, don't forget he won 6 Premier League titles with Manchester United as a player. He won 2 FA Cups and he did win the Champions League. So in that aspect, he has got that proven pedigree as a player. But of course, he hasn't really got it as a manager. And obviously, one of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's most iconic moments as a player, of course, was back in 1999. Of course, when he scored the winning goal, of course, to win Manchester United treble, which is obviously, you know, one of the club's greatest achievements in that. But like I said, I think us getting rid of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer now would not solve many problems at Manchester United. I think us getting rid of him before Christmas wouldn't solve many problems at Manchester United. Because like I said, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you know, is not only, you know, just he's just to blame, you know, for our inconsistency in that. But like I said, anyway, we've been a toxic club for the last 6 or 7 years. But I said something else, you know, that could have gone against us, you know, during this summer. You know, obviously our failure to recommend a director of footballing, because don't forget, throughout the course of the summer, you know, we was in search of getting a director of footballing. And I did say that's one of the structural changes that we do need at the football club and that. And there was quite a few former Manchester United players, you know, linked with the director's role during the summer and that, you know. And I think there was a lot of speculation the other week saying that Ed Woodward, you know, was interested in recommending Van der Sar as our new director and that. But I said, you know, it would be beneficial to recommend someone who knows the traditions of the club, someone, of course, who's got that experience, and someone, of course, you know, who would be reliable, you know, to oversee our transfer business and that. So you could arguably say maybe if we'd have got that director of footballing at the start of the summer or midway through the summer, then maybe in that aspect, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you know, would have been backed more and that. But for me, he does need a couple of more windows. But like I said on my recent videos and that, you know, managers now never get the time that they would like at clubs because the boards are too ruthless now, basically. I think our boards won't be as ruthless with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer because obviously, you know, he was a club legend. If we'd have had someone else in now at this moment in time, I think, you know, he probably would have been sacked, or he would have been at least one game, probably would have been 1 or 2 games away from getting the sack and that. But like I did say, reflecting back, you know, under the Alex Ferguson era, you know, Ferguson, don't forget, didn't win out in his first 4 years at Manchester United. When we recommended him in from Aberdeen, was it back in 1985 or 1986, or it might have been 1984, didn't win out in his first 4 years, and that's what people have got to take into account in that. But we know back in the old generation, managers got the time then, but Ferguson, you know, was actually 1 game away from getting the sack, and he didn't, and look what he went and accomplished. We had 20 odd years of success under Ferguson. But I said, regardless of who our manager is, you know, even if we now had a manager with a proven pedigree to the highest level and that, with the winning mentality, they still wouldn't replicate what Ferguson did in that. So nobody is ever going to follow Alex Ferguson's legacy. Nobody's going to ever follow Alex Ferguson's legacy in that. And no one's going to ever have as long as tenure as Alex Ferguson did. Well, not in English football anywhere. But yeah, and but just basically, things do need to improve at Manchester United, because I haven't really seen much improvements under Solskjaer, than what I saw under Mourinho, Louis van Gaal, and of course David Moyes. But yeah, I think Solskjaer definitely will be gone by Christmas, in my opinion. Like I said, a lot of players left during the summer and that, but I still think there's more players that need to leave the football club, as I do keep mentioning. You saw my preview I did earlier on. Obviously, we go up against Newcastle tomorrow at St James's Park. It's a 4:30 kick-off. Obviously, it's our 8th game of the Premier League season and that. And this is a game, Manchester United should win, arguably. So I think, this should be our first away win of the season. That, because, like I said, Newcastle are struggling for consistency. Newcastle have enjoyed a really bad start to this season. They've only registered 5 points from a possible 21. They got hammered last time. They got thrashed last time out against Leicester, by 5 goals to nil. And Newcastle are sitting 19th in the table. But I ain't going to show that Manchester United, of course, are going to win this. Newcastle obviously recommended Steve Bruce in earlier on this summer, as obviously following the dismissal of Rafa Benitez, because don't forget, back in June, Rafa Benitez did resign as Newcastle manager, and I think the main factor reason he resigned is because I don't think Newcastle and that, and the board assured him a substantial amount to, overhaul the Newcastle squad more. So I think this is the reason why he couldn't leave, but didn't get the sack in that. I think Newcastle should have really stuck with Rafa Benitez, because Rafa Benitez did really, really well with them. Obviously, Rafa Benitez is one of the best managers. He's won a lot of silverware in that, especially during his days with Liverpool. But I don't think Steve Bruce, will succeed at Newcastle. He's managed quite a lot of teams with Steve Bruce, but not good enough to be a manager. Was a good player back in the day, when he was at Manchester United, to be fair, Steve Bruce and that. But yeah, so like I said on my preview earlier on, obviously I interpreted, some of the stuff that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had mentioned in his press conference and that, building up to the game. And he basically come out with some interesting stuff, did Solskjaer. Obviously, he did say, analysing it so far this season, it hasn't been good enough. We haven't had the best execution. He also mentioned that we're not in the 1990s anymore, because obviously we were absolutely fantastic in the 90s, and that we were absolutely fantastic in the 1900s. And Solskjaer just mentioned, like I said, we're not in the 1990s anymore. It's a different era with different players, different groups, that we obviously are building. And he also mentioned that, not many clubs have the stature, of playing, young players, like we do in that. So these were some of the stuff, he mentioned, during his press conference. And he thinks, we can prepare a team, to obviously, win this particular game. Obviously, Solskjaer also said that he had element of concerns about, the pitch against Alkmaar earlier on in the week. I think he called it a plastic pitch, was it? Or something like that. But he said quite some interesting stuff in his press conference. Obviously, don't forget though, we have still got quite a lot of injuries in the team, and Solskjaer, I think, also did confirm that obviously all our players that are out with injury now will not be available for the game tomorrow, and that I think he did say more players will regain full fitness for the game against Liverpool after the international break. That's at Old Trafford on the 20th of October, just to let you know. So Solskjaer confirmed that Paul Pogba it's unlikely he will return from injury in time for the game tomorrow against Newcastle. Obviously Paul Pogba missed the game against Alkmaar, but the two games before the Alkmaar game, Paul Pogba played the full 90 minutes then, so he played against Rochdale and he played against Arsenal, but obviously, didn't look fully fit. I do believe that Paul Pogba is being further assessed, obviously, due to the recurrence of his foot injury that he had sustained in the 1-1 draw with Southampton earlier on in the season. Don't forget, Paul Pogba had to withdraw from the France squad around 3 weeks ago now, didn't he? He had to withdraw from the France squad, 4 or 5 weeks ago, should I say. And he would have been infuriated in that aspect, because obviously, Paul Pogba, does like to represent France. He won the World Cup with them last summer, and that I still believe Paul Pogba is one of the players that will leave Manchester United in January or next summer, and that. But Paul Pogba has actually missed about 4 or 5 games this season in all competitions. He hasn't missed that many though in the league. Obviously, he's played the vast majority of the games this season, and I don't think he's performed to the standards as we all expected. He hasn't scored yet this season. I don't think, and he hasn't exceeded expectation levels at Manchester United. As we all thought, he would have done that. I'm very happy that we kept Paul Pogba during the summer. I was happy about that, especially with our failure to land a midfielder in. But I still believe, he's on his way out in the football club, and that is Pogba. So yeah, it's confirmed he will not be playing in the game against Newcastle. Martial and Luke Shaw, obviously we do know that they're both out with injury in that. I hope, that they're, we know that they've missed the last 6 games for Manchester United in all competitions, and obviously their injuries must have been quite severe to be out for that long period of time. I think they should be both back for the game against Liverpool. Obviously Anthony Martial's been out with a thigh injury, Luke Shaw's been out with a hamstring injury in that, and they're 2 imperative players in that. And with Anthony Martial, obviously now he's into his 5th season as a Manchester United player. He has scored over 50 goals for the club in all competitions since his arrival from Monaco back in 2015, and that is now into his 5th season, like I said, at Man United. And I think he enjoyed a good start to this season, Martial, before he obviously sustained the thigh injury against Crystal Palace. I think he's done mainly really well. But in the first 3 games, Martial was fantastic. Obviously got confirmed at the start of the season that Anthony Martial has been given that number 9 shirt, so he's playing more centrally this season, even though he predominantly plays out on the left out wide. But Martial and Rashford can both play in the same position, so they are compatible in that aspect. Martial can play centrally, can play out wide. Rashford can play centrally, and of course can't play out wide. But Martial, of course, is still only 23 years of age, and he has still got a lot of development in him. And I think when Martial does recover from injury and he can keep the consistency up, I think he can score from at least between 15 to 20 goals this season, in my opinion. And he's obviously signed a 5-year deal back in January. Luke Shaw, like I said, analysing the majority of his Manchester United career, I think he's been mainly consistent as Luke Shaw. Now, obviously, he's had some bad spells. He had a bad spell under Mourinho. Obviously, he had a bad spell. He's sustained quite a few injuries as a Manchester United player. But I think prior to that, he's been mainly consistent. And don't forget, Luke Shaw won the double player of the season last season, reflecting on his impressive performances. But yeah, he's been out with a hamstring injury. Now, obviously, due to Luke Shaw's absence and that, quite a few players have been, fulfilling his role at left back and that. Mainly it has been Ashley Young in the Premier League, but obviously we know that Tuanzebe played at left back against Arsenal on Monday. Obviously, Brandon Williams played at left back against AZ Alkmaar earlier on in the week. Rojo's played at left back, quite a few times. So we have got quite a few versatile defenders, because Tuanzebe is predominantly a centre back, can play as a right back and a left back. Rojo can play as a centre back, but can also play as a left wing back and a full back and that. So yeah, but like I said, Luke Shaw's been a big miss. News on Jesse Lingard. I want to give you an update on Jesse Lingard. He's going to be out for this particular game. Don't forget, Lingard played on Thursday against AZ Alkmaar, but Lingard came off in stoppage time with a hamstring problem. And I'm actually quite glad, to be quite honest, that Lingard's not going to be playing. Even though Lingard is an imperative player for Man United, I still think he's a long-term solution for the football club. But I think analysing his performances so far this season, he has been way below par, as Jesse Lingard has said. Reflecting on his status and that at the football club, he should be putting much more better performances out, so Jesse Lingard. So yeah, he's got a hamstring problem. It was only early on this season that Jesse Lingard had been out with illness. Wan-Bissaka, we do know he's out with illness, is Wan-Bissaka now. Wan-Bissaka has missed the last 2 games for Manchester United in all competitions. Missed the Alkmaar game in the Europa League. Also missed the game against Arsenal on Monday as well. That was actually the first league game he's missed this season, so he's going to be missing his second league game tomorrow. He's going to be missing his 3rd game in all competitions, I think, or is it his 4th? But Wan-Bissaka, has been very, very consistent consistent for Man United. And a lot of people believe that he has been one of our most consistent signings as Wan-Bissaka in that, because his distribution's good, he shows that ability to play out there from the back. And I think so far this season, Bissaka is replicating what he did, with Crystal Palace last season, because don't forget, he only made his senior debut back in February 2018, did Bissaka. But yeah, and I think if he can keep the consistency up, his valuation, will persistently grow. Don't forget, Bissaka actually, had sustained a back injury earlier on in the season, so obviously, that prevented him, from making his England senior debut. So he would have been infuriated about that. Like I said, Eric Bailly's a long-term absence. He's out until the end of December or the new year with a knee injury. Obviously, he had sustained his knee injury throughout pre-season, with Eric Bailly. And I think, reflecting on the amount of injuries that Eric Bailly has sustained as a Manchester United player, I think the club, will probably consider offloading Eric Bailly, maybe in January next summer or at some point in the future. And that, not because he's an inconsistent player, because, to be fair, when Eric Bailly's fully fit, he's very consistent. And, he holds his line well and he has got great potential. But, I think it's from the amount of injuries basically that's affecting his Man United career. Also with his fallout under managers and that. And Eric Bailly now is into his 4th season as a Manchester United player and that. And I think if we were willing to sell him, obviously, we'd look to recoup the initial £30 million that we did pay for him from, Villarreal back in 2016. Obviously, Jose Mourinho recommended him in. It actually was Jose Mourinho's first signing was Eric Bailly. Yeah. And Phil Jones, don't forget, he's out with injury. Is Phil Jones? Yes, he is out with injury. This is why he didn't play against AZ Alkmaar. Phil Jones, of course. I said he'll get the opportunities in the cup games and the Europa League games, and that will Jones, but obviously will struggle to get chances in the league and that. And Jones has been a long-serving player at Manchester United. Now this is 9th season at the club, but he has been here 8 years. Don't forget, we give Jones a new long-term contract last season, which I do believe was a mistake from the football club. But yeah, he's out with injury. We know that Fosu Mensah's still out. Don't forget, Fosu Mensah returned to the club earlier on this summer. Last season he'd been on loan with Fulham, where I think he actually sustained the injury. It's a knee injury, and I think he has been out for quite some time, but I think he's close to regaining full fitness. Rashford, I think he'll probably play in the Newcastle game. Well, Rashford, obviously, he didn't look fully fit in the game against Arsenal. Rashford came on as a substitute against AZ Alkmaar and that. And like I said, Rashford's enjoyed a really, really difficult start to this season, to be quite honest with you. I thought Rashford did really, really well throughout pre-season. He also did well in the opening game against Chelsea and that. But I think, prior to that, he hasn't, performed to the standards as we all expected and that. And, Rashford, obviously, so far has spent the entirety of his career with Manchester United. He's been United player since the age of 7. Obviously, was in the youth academy for a lot of years, been in the senior squad with us since 2016. And don't forget, Rashford did score on his debut against Arsenal, twice on his Premier League debut. Obviously scored on his debut against Midtjylland and that. But he's mainly enjoying a difficult time now at Man United, especially in comparison to his time when he first broke into the first team and that. But he's still only 21 years of age, and I still say he's a long-term solution for Man United. Don't forget, he's recently, just recovered from a groin problem, as Marcus Rashford. But I'd say, definitely, at this moment in time, I think Mason Greenwood is a much better solution than Marcus Rashford, in my opinion, at this present time anywhere. And Mason Greenwood has not yet started a game from the start in the Premier League. He was playing on the right against AZ Alkmaar on Thursday. I think he's better, when you play. I think Mason Greenwood's better, when he plays centrally, to be quite honest with you. But he has not yet, as we speak, started a game from the start in the Premier League so far this season. But I think he should be assured to start against Newcastle. I'm surprised Mason Greenwood, didn't start against Arsenal. So far in the league this season, Mason Greenwood has made 5 substitute appearances. He did start against Rochdale in the Carabao Cup and FC Astana in the Europa League. Obviously scored in them 2 particular games and that. So come up with a moment of quality, and I think he's getting a lot of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's trust, is Mason Greenwood. And I think if Mason Greenwood can keep the consistency up and he can keep scoring goals, Solskjaer's assured anywhere he will get more minutes under his belt. Don't forget, Mason Greenwood has just turned 18 years of age. He turned 18 at the first of this month. So by the time he's 23, 24, I think he'll be a world-class centre forward. And I think he's one of the young upcoming players that will succeed at Manchester United, in my opinion, in that. But we have got a lot of young players in the squad, as I said, that are developing and, trying to improve at Manchester United and that. But I think, maybe some of the young upcoming players do need to be loaned out because, I have got element of concerns about certain young upcoming players and that. I don't think, obviously, all of them are going to become successes at Manchester United. It may only turn out that Mason Greenwood, only becomes a successful. But there again, I think also Alex Tuanzebe will be a success in that. He's done well in the games he's played in this season, as Alex Tuanzebe. Don't forget, he was on loan with Aston Villa last season. There was Tuanzebe. Chong, I've got some element of concerns about him. Obviously, he's another one with the young upcoming players. I think Chong is totally comparison to Mason Greenwood, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. Chong's, 19 years of age. He has played a couple of games this season as Chong. Don't forget, I think it come out about 2 or 3 weeks ago saying that Chong was in negotiations with a football club over a new contract. I think he also received loan offers this summer from PSV and his former club Feyenoord, but he turned these loan offers down because obviously he wants to remain loyal to Manchester United and that for this season anyway. Angel Gomez, obviously he's a big part of the squad this season. Obviously, he has played a couple of times. He's just recently, recovered from injury. Obviously, Angel Gomez is another one by the midfield options. Diego Dalot, obviously he's made, I think, 2 appearances for the club so far this season. That obviously, Diego Dalot is one of the backup options at that right back position. Dalot is predominantly a right back. I think he needs more time, Dalot, and he will get more chances. Like I said, he's only been at the club since last summer as Diego Dalot. I think he's, how old is he? Is he 20 or 21 years of age? He's just recently, recovered from injury. Jimmy Garner, he's another one with the young upcoming players. I don't think he's yet played this season, Jimmy Garner, not in the Premier League anyway, on any of the cup games, but he did play, I think, a couple of games throughout pre-season. Was part of the 21-man squad that travelled, to the Netherlands earlier on this week, but obviously, didn't play. But yeah, so I still think there's certain players that, have played well this season. Despite the fact that, we haven't, we've enjoyed bad starts this season. I think McTominay has had a great start to this season. He's done really, really well as Scott McTominay. In regards to him being a long-term solution for Man United, I have got element of concerns about that. Can he keep the consistency up? And that is definitely questionable, but I think he's deserved to keep his place in the team, with how he's performed. Don't forget, he did score a good goal against Arsenal on Monday, and that obviously, that 1-1 draw. And I think McTominay is still only 22 years of age, and that obviously he's our preference over Matic, so he's preferred over Matic and that. But McTominay deserved to keep his place in the team. For the majority of this season so far, he has been mainly playing alongside Paul Pogba, but recently, due to the absence of Paul Pogba, he's actually been playing alongside Matic quite a few times alongside Fred. My overarching view on Fred is that, he needs to be, given more time at the football club. Fred, again, he's only been here, since last summer. We paid just under £50 million for Fred. And, Fred's had a good couple of games this season. That, like I said, I don't think he's really settled in as yet. But when he gets more time and that, I think he should settle in, Fred. But we need to see the more of Fred, because I think any of our midfield options are much better solutions than Nemanja Matic, in my opinion. Are much better solutions than Nemanja Matic and that. So the game tomorrow, definitely Ole Gunnar Solsjaker will make a lot of alterations in the squad. I think Tuanzebe will start at right back tomorrow. It could be Diego Dalot, but I think it will be Tuanzebe, and I presume probably Young will play at left back, even though we could put Rojo at left back, maybe even that Brandon Williams at left back, don't forget. But I think the full backs will be Young and Alex Tuanzebe in that. Definitely, I think probably we'll go with it will be Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof as a centre-back partnership, obviously. I think the midfield probably will be McTominay or Fred, or McTominay and Matic and that. Definitely James will play tomorrow. Rashford will play tomorrow. Greenwood should play tomorrow. I think Greenwood will probably play out on the right tomorrow, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. Mata may play tomorrow. He may not start, but, he may be involved in the game and that, A lot of people believe that Juan Mata's no longer got it anymore. he hasn't no longer got it anymore. You know, he's lost that yard of pace. Obviously now we know that he's staying at Manchester United, which is good news. You know, don't forget he signed a new deal earlier on in the summer and that. He's now 31 years of age, but I admire him. He's had a fantastic career with the football club. You know, he's obviously won the FA Cup, was the League Cup and the Europa League. You know, he's been here since 2014, so now Matt is into his 6th season as a Manchester United player and that. But I still, you know, do rate him a lot. But obviously, you know, he's no longer, you know, our first choice. But yeah, I think analysing it, you know, we have got a good squad. But it's not good enough to win the league. I think, you know, in my opinion, we need at least 3, maybe 4 world-class signings, you know, if we are to be, you know, future title contenders. And obviously, you know, if we want to get back, you know, to where we do want to be. To where obviously, you know, where we do want to be in that. But like I said, a lot of money's been invested into the football club in the last, 6 or 7 years. You know, I think around £800 million has been spent an estimated guess in that on players and that since the Alex Ferguson era and all the other managerial eras. And, you know, that's just under £1 billion. So... And that's not even taking into account what was spent under Ferguson. So if you want to take into account what was spent under Ferguson, obviously, you know, it's way over £1 billion that the football club have spent. Don't forget, we've also, you know, got players on big contracts. But like I did say, you know, I don't think, you know, Solsjaker is going to last at Manchester United. He's not going to last at Man United. But who should come in to replace him at the football club? Now, we do know there has been a lot of talks recently about, you know, Massimiliano Allegri coming into the football club. You know, the former Juventus manager, obviously resigned as Juventus manager earlier on this summer. Obviously, Maurizio Sarri went into Juventus to replace Massimiliano Allegri. But you know, Massimiliano Allegri won the majority of his silverware with Juventus. You know, he was at Juventus around 5 years. Obviously, you know, got them to 2 Champions League finals and that, and won a lot of trophies with them. Obviously, has actually spent the entirety of his managerial career, you know, with Juventus as Massimiliano Allegri. Obviously, you know, also spent the entirety of his playing career in Italy and that. So it reportedly said we made Massimiliano Allegri as our primary candidate to replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and actually could come in this season to replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You know, maybe we believe we should reignite our interest in Pochettino, because don't forget, you know, Pochettino was linked to a, you know, with a managerial role at Manchester United after the sacking of Jose Mourinho. There was a lot of talks about Pochettino coming in, but at that current time, you know, I don't think Pochettino had any intentions of leaving Tottenham. But you know, Pochettino's highly experienced in the Premier League. You know, he's been in the Premier League quite a lot of years now. You know, he's been at Tottenham 5 years. He's now into his 6th season with Tottenham. And he's done mainly well. He's good at developing players and that. You know, a lot of people believe he would have the stature, you know, to get Man United in that commanding position. And people do believe that, you know, he would... you know, suit the strappings of the football club, and I wouldn't be too sure about it. But obviously our preference was Solskjaer over Pochettino, because obviously Solskjaer was a cheaper solution. Plus, you know, he knows the culture and that in the football club, and obviously, you know, Pochettino, you know, doesn't. So, and yeah, so we could possibly reignite our interest, you know, in him. But like I said, I think around 7 players have now left since Solskjaer's arrival. You know, obviously a couple of goalkeepers got loaned out. And obviously Italy's been a very popular destination for the vast majority of our players this summer, because quite a lot of our players have obviously, you know, gone to Italy. But, you know, I think we're lacking in that attacking third of the pitch. You know, obviously following the dismissal of Lukaku and Sanchez, you know, we're lacking in that attacking third of the pitch. Plus, with the injuries to Martial and Rashford and that, you know, we're lacking in that attacking third of the pitch and that. We definitely need to get a midfielder in January, but I think Solskjaer's confirmed, you know, he still wants to continue the policy of recruiting young British players, you know, like he did do early on this summer. But yeah, he is making plans for January, Solskjaer. Obviously, I was reading reports quite recently, and he did say, you know, we are willing to orchestrate to spend £90 million in January on Moussa Dembele and Sean Longstaff now, reportedly. So this is what I basically said in that. Yeah. So that's mainly everything to update today, guys. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribing as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.